We're student ambassadors at St. Anne's College at Oxford, and we're going to do a little Q&A today for any questions people might have about open days, the college, our subjects. So I'm Marie Jo. I'm just going into my second year doing biochemistry, and then if Catherine wants to go on next and everyone follows afterwards.
Hiya, my name's Kate. I'm going into my fourth year, so I'm like really old, studying French. Who wants to go next? Ty?
Suna, go for it.
Hi, I'm Sana. I'm going into my second year doing medicine.
Ty, you want to go afterwards?
Hi, my name's Tai. I'm going into my third year studying engineering.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. I'm going into my second year studying material science.
Okay, awesome. So since I don't see any questions yet to start off with, or Hannah can throw them in at a later point, we can just start off with the kind of straightforward ones. So I think maybe starting with Sina, and then if so or if not, why did you choose it? What was you liked? Or what did you like about the college you chose that you also liked about Sina?
I'm so sorry, my laptop just had a bit of a nightmare. Would you just be able to repeat the question?
Yeah, it's just, why did you choose St. Anne's? If you didn't choose it, what characteristics did it have when you got here that really made you think, wow, okay, this is my college?
So I didn't actually pick St. Anne's. I applied to a different college. But like now that I'm at Anne's, I'm sure everyone says this, but it's literally my favourite place. And I can't imagine being anywhere else. I think I really like Anne's because it's got quite a chill atmosphere, which I think suits my personality as well. Like, I don't feel super pressured like you might do at other like colleges, which seems to be like stereotype, which may be true at some other ones, but Anne's is definitely not. And it's just like everyone's so friendly and welcoming, and it's just like quite nice vibes there.
Yeah, no, like completely agreed. Like I thought it was just really unintimidating because all the other colleges, like they look really nice, but they were more like a museum to me. Like I don't think I could live there and like study there. Like Catherine, Rebecca, Ty, if you guys agree or disagree, feel free to share.
No, I mean, I also didn't apply to St. Anne's. I actually hadn't heard of it. I hadn't really heard of many colleges before I sort of arrived in Oxford for the interview, sort of walked up to St. Anne's and was like, oh no, this is quite nice. Like, it looks a bit like my school, which was actually really comforting, like, to go in for an interview. I was like, no, this looks like somewhere I've been before. But, like, it's just, like, the friendliness of St. Anne's, like, really wins it for me, as does the food. I've never had food in a college as good as St. Anne's. It's won some awards, so that's, like, really up there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Rebecca, what about you?
I applied to St. Anne's. I only had a choice of 7 colleges, so it's a lot easier for me to find St. Anne's. The best thing is its location, for sure, for me, and just when like I came and I kind of arrived at interview and I was like, I can just show up, be myself, and like nobody really, everyone is themselves. It's really down to earth.
Yeah, Ty, what about you as well?
Yeah, I applied to St. Anne's, but I never actually visited it or anything. It's literally 2 minutes away from my lectures, and that was all I needed. But now I've got there, I kind of agree with you guys. Like, I feel like if I visited it beforehand, I would have done the same thing because it's just such a friendly atmosphere. And I feel like that hits you pretty much as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I didn't even properly see Oxford before, like, I got to Oxford for the start of course. Like, I didn't even know we had a mall. Like, for anyone who's not been yet, like, watching the live stream, we have, like, Westgate, which is, like, just like a massive mall with, like, basically everything you can need there. Didn't even know that existed. I thought Oxford was, like, a town. So I was like, whoa, it's, like, so modern. So then this is for Taye. How big is the college? And then you can, like, feel free to give your opinions on, like, how you like that size. Like, whether you like it the size it is or you wish it had more people or...
So I think there's about 100 people roughly in each year. And there's kind of 4 years. So we're kind of on the bigger side of the Oxford colleges, but also not huge. And I quite liked it because it reminded me again of school. It's kind of a similar year group size that I was used to. And I felt like there was enough people that had a lot of choice when making friends and Freshers Week and stuff. But also not too many people that I felt overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, 100% same. So now, why did you decide to apply to Oxford? And this applies to everybody else as well, but I just asked Sina first. And then was there anything that put you off? And then feel free as well, why for your course in particular? Like, what did you like about medicine at Oxford compared to other places?
I think I applied to Oxford because for medicine, because there's already an early deadline, you're just like, I might as well apply. I might as well go for it. And I did visit both Oxford and Cambridge, and I just like the Oxford vibes more. They are quite similar, and I do also kind of like the traditional course at Oxford. It kind of scares me, the fact that you might have to see patients without knowing everything about like your knowledge or the theory behind it. So I really did like that about Oxford, that you like learn everything in your first 3 years, and then you have your clinical years after, which I feel like if you went to see a patient, you could be like, oh, okay, I actually know some stuff. I'm not just seeing you without knowing much in my first year when I first start. And I just about medicine, I like the small tutorial teaching groups. I know that is for like other subjects as well, but it's like a great way to like ask questions that you don't know, and like things that you feel like you want more understanding in or like extension on is good. And the dissection room at Oxford's really good. It's taught to you by clinicians, and they can like highlight the clinical relevance of stuff as well, which is really useful. And like you get to see it, and it's like dissected for you already, so you're not like there like, oh, am I cutting the wrong thing, am I like opening the wrong part? Like they show it to you, so you know that you're looking at the right thing, which I really like.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And especially about the tutorial system, like similar with Cambridge, like anyone who feels like they really thrive under like small group learning where they can ask questions or be questioned, like pretty much any subject at Oxford, every subject at Oxford would do that for you. Rebecca, Catherine, what about you two? Like, what were your like reasons for choosing Oxford, and then your subjects as well there? And then we'll put the questions in the chat.
Do you have to go first, Rebecca?
Okay, I'll go first. I applied to Oxford because of my course, so I knew I wanted to do material science. So I looked at the courses and I really liked how Oxford did it. So that's why I applied. I wasn't really like big on the traditions and the city that much. And although now I really, really love it, my course, the best thing is the 4th year. When you do your research projects, you just spend a whole year researching something, you know, so it's kind of like a mini PhD, I guess, at the end, which I can't wait to go and do, even though I know I should really enjoy these next few years as well.
For me, I was told by a teacher in my school that I should like consider applying to Oxford. I'd never really been before, so I applied. I came on the open day. Thought it was quite cute. Like I live in Liverpool, so it does not look anything like it. But I thought it was like quite a cute town, so I applied, not really knowing a huge amount. And then yeah, I got the offer, and I was kind of like, oh well, you know, like I might as well take it. And it was kind of until I got here, I realized like I am like really fortunate to be in this situation, and kind of from like my friends from home who go to universities and like hearing from their experience at their universities versus in Oxford, like I just know that the experience in Oxford is so much more personal. Like the tutorials have already been mentioned, like it'll be maybe you and maybe one other person, 2 other people, and like an expert in their field, and you can just ask them anything you want. And that's just like, that's kind of the opportunity that you don't really get in the other universities. So I think that's like a way that Oxford really kind of sets itself above teaching wise, is just the tutorials. And like if you're scared to ask a question in front of a whole lecture theatre of people, which I would be, a tutorial is a really good place that you can actually just maybe even at the end ask the tutor if you feel like you have a silly question. Like it's very reassuring.
100%. I'll do a quick digression just for the 2 really simple questions in the chat. Then Ty can talk about her subject as well and why she chose it. So is St. Anne's an all-women's college? No, it's not. I don't think Oxford has any all-women's colleges. Correct me if I'm wrong. But no, it's not. It used to be an all-women's college. It was founded as that. But then as of pretty recently, like the 1970s, we're mixed. So it's pretty chill. And then the ratio of males to females is about 50-50, give or take. And then did you do 3 or 4 A-levels? Does doing more A-levels improve your chances of getting in? I did 3, and then everyone else can kind of share what they did based on their subject. But doing more A-levels, like I think at least I'll say what the biochemistry department has said for, and I think it stands for quite a few departments. You obviously want to be doing the
Joe's just left. I'll carry on talking till she comes back. But so like my school, for example, only offers 3 A-levels maximum, so it really doesn't matter. As in some schools,
A
might be able to
levels that
accommodate the time
on.
thing, and other schools might only offer 3. And Oxford like completely respects that, but they might give you kind of a for like I do French, you have to have done French A level. So it'll kind of just be maybe 1 or 2 compulsory subjects. Sorry, Mary Jo, I kind of talked over you. You
Oh
froze
no, thank you
dramatically.
so much. I didn't even realize I froze. Do you want to continue? Then I'll finish off.
Oh no, I'm all done. You go again.
Yeah, so then I was just saying, in terms of just general subject specific advice, you want to be doing the A levels that on your Oxford page for your subject are either required or recommended. So obviously, if you're doing maths or you're applying for maths, you want to be doing further maths or mathematics. And then maybe the recommended subject would probably be a science or 2. But then outside of doing those required or recommended within your 3, doing 4 helps if you get good grades, but obviously they're only going to give you your offer based on 3 of them that you do. That's for most subjects. Some might change. So if doing 4 would overstrain you and cause you to have lower grades, like on an average, then it's definitely not recommended. So like in short, do 3 if it's going to give you your highest grades. Do 4 if you think you can, but keep in mind it will not help you as much as it could hinder you. I think it's the only way to say if anyone has anything else to add. And then I'll talk about biochem afterwards, but I don't want to be the only one talking. So if everyone could say what A levels they studied, and then obviously how it was relevant to their subject. So Ty, if you want to start.
So I studied maths, further maths, and physics, and those are kind of the requirements / recommended ones for engineering. So they were very relevant, and yeah.
Rebecca?
I did maths, physics, chemistry, and further maths. So I did 4 A levels. You can easily do 3 and get into materials. Most people I know have not done further maths A level, and they cover it all over again. Yeah, another recommended one is DT, product design for materials, but also you don't need it at all.
Oh, she frozen again.
So
Well, I also did 4 A levels. I did biology, chemistry, maths, and psychology. And chemistry is the only one that they need for medicine. But then they recommend that you do one of biology, physics, or maths as the rest. And yeah, I would agree with what everyone said before. Like, if you think you would only benefit from doing 3, just do 3. I happened to really like psychology when I started it, and I was just like, I'm going to keep doing it. Although a lot of people did tell me that I should drop it, but in the end, it was fine. But like, it just like if you think you could do it, then go ahead, and if you actually enjoy them, fair enough. But if you think it would like take away time from doing well and the ones that you actually do need, it's not worth it.
Yeah, what Oxford like values sort of as well is not only the A levels, but maybe like some other books that you've read outside of it. So, or not necessarily books for everything, but something else that you've done outside of it. So, like for French, it was what books have I read outside of my course that I found really interesting, and that's something that, I mean, for my interview, my A levels weren't even talked about, and what I was studying in A level wasn't even talked about. It was the kind of books that I'd mentioned in my personal statement. They were like, "Oh, you see, you've read this. Tell us what you thought." Or they just asked me right at the end, "Oh, what English book are you reading at the moment?" And I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even have a book on the go." I was like, "Oh, trying to think of one." But it's kind of more so or not more so, but it's also like the kind of additional things that you're doing that they might like to ask you about and stuff, and makes your application look a bit stronger.
guys, I don't know if you can hear me. I was probably the worst person to do this because my connection is so bad today, honestly. But yeah, if you're still talking about A levels, I did maths, biology, and chemistry. And if I did a 4th, I would have done English. I decided to drop it because it wasn't really relevant to my course and it was more work. But again, like that mix is completely fine for biochem. So then in terms of what's doing biochem at Oxford's like, I'll be quite brief and then we can always add more later on if there's time. But it's a 4-year master's, so it's integrated. And that was one of the biggest pros in choosing it for me because it kind of meant I could do my master's degree in like a shorter amount of time, get it out of the way or like get it finished and not have to worry about applying maybe like postgraduate afterwards. And I knew I wanted to do a master's, so that worked really well. Most of the modules in first year are compulsory, and it will be in a lot of biochem courses across the country, just because they're essentials of science and like foundations that you need to know. So it's not really optional whether you do it or not. Fourth year, like Rebecca was saying, with materials, has dissertation. So in third year, that's primarily all of your exams. And then fourth year, you end up doing your own research project. And the last, like maybe 20-30% of your exams that you end up presenting to a bunch of professors. And yeah, that's about it. We have quite a few contact hours a week, which is made up of lectures, tutorials, maybe two to three a week, and then full days of labs. And then that changes in terms of timing as you go on throughout the year. So I guess that's a good segue into talking about like a classic day in like, let's say, material sciences, Rebecca. So if you want to go for it.
My usual day is probably about 2 to 3 lectures in the morning. Obviously, that's not always true, but and then some afternoons I'll have labs, and then others I'll be having a tutorial or I'll be in the library doing my work. And then in the evening, spending time with friends or societies.
I'll go for French. It's I think I'm the only humanities person here, so I spend a lot of time just in the library reading books. I have a lot less, humanities in Oxford have a lot less contact hours per week than sciences will. So I'll have a few hours of lectures a week, and then I might have 2 1-hour tutorials a week that you provide an essay for each. So a lot of my time is kind of just spent just trying to desperately write that essay for the next tutorial that's coming up. But that's fine. That kind of works well for me. I quite like independent work. So it's like, this is kind of a well-suited course for people who are fairly self-motivated. I think that that's something that's kind of, the ability to learn to be self-motivated is kind of important to have in Oxford, because you do spend a lot of time working at your own timetable and having to kind of structure your own sort of tutorials and lessons and stuff around other things.
And then I know I froze, but if I froze, guys, just please feel free to just someone take on for me like a natural conclusion. But Suna, if you haven't spoken already about medicine, oh, you have a bit. What about you, Tai? Sorry. What about engineering?
So for engineering, it's quite similar to material science. We have a couple lectures every morning, about 2 or 3. We have 1 day worth of labs a week, and then 2 problem sheets and tutorials a week, and then the rest of the time is just trying to get those work in for the tutorials or doing lab prep.
Yeah, awesome. So then, Suna, if you want to talk more about medicine or you feel like you've covered it quite well, please feel free. It's up to you. Don't leave you out.
Oh, sorry. Medicine's pretty similar to the other sciences. Like, we do have a couple of lectures in the morning. We usually have like the dissection room once a week, and we do have a couple of labs, but they're not like all day things. They're just kind of randomly scattered throughout term. And then we have about 2 or 3 tutorials a week, depending on like what subjects we're covering at the time. So it's pretty similar to the other science students' like timetables.
Okay, brilliant. And the question that was kind of following off that is, with your schedules and your contact hours and everything else, what clubs do you manage to fit around it? What do you prioritize? How much free time do you have? So Katie, if you want to start.
I have, well, in terms of not being in actual timetable things, I do have quite a lot of free time. So I spend, I like to treat my university time kind of like a working day. Like, I'll be in the library sort of studying, or in my room studying, kind of 9 till 5, and then I devote that evening maybe to doing other things. Or if I've got something that I want to go to in the day, I'll kind of move that chunk into the evening. But I did find time for societies in Oxford, which is really great. Oxford has a huge amount of societies, like just the things that I still don't even know exist. Like, there's honestly so many. So I didn't join any sporting ones. That's really not my thing. But I joined a kind of women in business society, which I was on the committee for about a year. And that gave me like a really great opportunity to kind of learn about the world of work, to learn like different skills, and also to meet people from different colleges. which Oxford, like, as in the society system in Oxford, gives you the chance to do really well, as does sort of the like heritage society. So I'm a member of the Northern Society, and that's also a really good opportunity to meet kind of similar people that you kind of share a background with, that from different colleges, that you can all chat about. That's really lovely.
Yeah, the part about like the range of societies is really good, what Katie was mentioning, because in terms of like what you want to use societies for, like they have them like extracurricular wise, so that's sport, like fashion, like athletics, whether it's like recreational, you want to do competitively. Then you also have the career aspect of it. So it's like if you're interested in consulting or in business, like most subjects will have their own societies. So for example, there'll be like a chemistry and biochem society, and I'm sure it applies quite similarly across the board for everyone else. And then also like with the Northerner Society, you'll have a lot of cultural ones. So on that note, Ty and I are part of ACS, and Ty was on the senior board for it last year. So she wants to talk about ACS as well, and like how that's impacted her life at Oxford, or like what it brings as a society for people of like Afro-Caribbean backgrounds.
Yeah, so I'm part of ACS. I have been for the last 2 years and been on the board. So it is a society for people of African and Caribbean heritage. Most of us are kind of British, but there's a few people who are from African and Caribbean as well. And it's, how do we describe ourselves? It's usually a home away from home. A lot of us are used to our home lives being more influenced by our heritage and African and Caribbean culture. And obviously Oxford is quite different. So as a society, we provide kind of educational events, support, fun events, and just try to create a little family that kind of reminds you of home and that while you're away.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. Suna, I don't know if you want to add anything about any of your societies, like cultural-wise, extracurricular-wise, sports-wise, anything?
Yeah, so I didn't think I would have that much time for societies, but then like I feel like you find that you make time if you want to. Like if you've got something to go to, you'll be like, okay, I need to get this done, and then you can go. So I'm part of the Bollywood dance team at Oxford, which is pretty new. We just like did our like first performance last term that we had, so it's quite new, but it's going to be quite exciting. And I didn't join many of the societies, but I went to like quite a few talks that other colleges put on, so they're quite good to go to. Like I feel like that's something that Oxford offers, which is pretty good, that you can like go to like subject talks or like anything that you fancy, just like around the college or around the whole uni, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And in terms of contact hours as well, like I guess for general in science, and everyone's touched on it before, science does tend to have quite a few contact hours. So just for clarification, contact hours are just hours that are like scheduled learning. So it's any hours within, you're probably with a teacher, a tutor, a professor, someone either giving you a worksheet, teaching you a lab, lecturing you in a hall room. So outside of those, I feel like a good point for sciences is that if you choose maybe like 2-3 clubs that you're really passionate about, and then kind of stick with those if you want to really join something. So there definitely is time, it's just making sure you make it and kind of keep on track, but that's something you learn along the way. Rebecca, what about you? Are there any societies you're part of, any extracurriculars you want to join or you have joined that you really think made a difference in terms of how you've been learning?
I did beginner Spanish last year on a bit of a whim, like at the language centre, and really enjoyed that. It was kind of something different for myself, as well as I'm a musician, so I went to a wind band, university wind band. I did Boomwhacker Society in college. Yeah, there's lots to get involved with here. And you can make the time for it. I made a lot of time for it.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Ty, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I do. Just on the note of extracurricular, I also play football for the university first team, which is quite a huge time commitment. I'm probably playing football about 5 or 6 times a week, which on top of the science does sound like a lot of time. But the good thing about sports at the university is it's very understanding that everyone has different kind of timetables. So I have early morning sessions or late evening sessions, so it won't affect my work so much. And we'll have away matches, which pretty much take away the whole of Wednesday. But a lot of tutors are very understanding that you might need to go away for a match on Wednesday, so you can fit it around your time schedule. It's just making time and being very organized and letting people know in advance when you can be here and when you can't.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And with fitness in general, like I'm really big on gym and like athletics, but then I was kind of worried, like, okay, I don't want to do something competitive in case it's a lot of time requirement from me. So even if you feel that way, like I'm in like one of the Oxford gymnastics teams, and it's not competitive, it's just for fun. And then you can choose to be competitive later. So it's a really kind of chill way to do things without having to feel pressure from it. But also at the same time, if you want to do something competitively, like Taya was saying. So I think we can move on. Oh, actually, we can talk about accommodation a little bit, and then we could probably talk about like personal statements, applications, because I know that's like a really big thing people worry about. So in terms of accommodation, especially everyone who's lived more than 1 year than some of us second years, please talk about how the accommodation was like from years going on. So Katie, if you want to start.
Well, so first years are all kind of put in this row of sort of terraced houses, I guess, which is actually within college. Like college kind of owns a road, which is quite cool. And you kind of live within these houses with maybe 6 to 8 people per house, and those are sort of shared bathroom facilities, and you each get a kitchen as well. So they're like a really great way to kind of make friends straight away in Oxford. Like you're kind of just put in a house with 7 other people, and those are 7 other people that you can immediately talk to. You're not having to kind of knock on people's doors, you know, you can just see them in the kitchen. So that's a really good way to make friends. But once you've left your first year, you can opt to live in an ensuite room, which is like quite fancy, quite nice. St Anne's has like quite a large number of ensuite rooms, so a lot of second and third years and fourth years choose to live in ensuite rooms, which is really great. But as a fresher, you don't generally get that option unless you have maybe a health or disability requirement that means that you need like an accessible bathroom. And if like college are more than happy to provide that if you do need one. St Anne's also offers 3 years worth of accommodation. So because most people's degrees are 3 years long, I think everyone here is 4 years. Or sorry, Suna, you're like 6 or something. But so for most people's degrees, you will get all 3 years spent in college, which is really great because looking for private accommodation can be quite difficult and maybe like an added stress that some people don't want. But so that's like a really good facility in college to have. You get to choose which year you want to live out if you're on a 4-year course, and you do get 3 years sort of living in a nice catered accommodation.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like I rate it. Obviously, I'm going to second year now, so I'll have an ensuite, which I'm sure a lot of us in second year did or will have. And that's quite a good thing. But even in shared accommodations, the bathrooms are kept really clean. We have really wonderful cleaners called scouts who come in and clean them regularly for us. So everything ends up working out quite well. Does anyone else have anything they particularly want to say about their accommodation or what they've gotten into or things people should remember? Because I think Katie's really covered most of it.
I would say about kitchens, like the kitchen facilities at Anne's are like so much better than what you'll find at other colleges. Like having a kitchen that you share with like 8 other people, I think it is like on average, and like quite a lot of them have like communal space where you can sit with people and eat a meal. So yeah, they're really good.
You know, that's actually such a good point because I personally love cooking. Didn't even really think of getting a college that had a kitchen. I think I just assumed that they did. But in tons of other colleges, like even some of the more central ones, I won't like name shame, but like you'll be sharing a kitchen with like 50 or 25. So it's not really a kitchen. It's like, it's not really accessible in that way. So Anne's is actually quite rare that pretty much everyone has access to a kitchen that they could use like on the regular. Just moving on a bit because I did an application, but I know the major I want to pursue will affect being offered a place. Everyone should add on to it as well because I think it's a good question, but in the whole, your choice of college will not affect your chance. I think sometimes you could be sent to a college that you hadn't interviewed at. But the idea is that if you're a good applicant, they will find a place for you somewhere. The way biochemistry does it is that everyone kind of average, like give or take, from the biochemistry department. Interview, everything else is average, give or take. And they're like, okay, this person needs a place, let's find a place for them. So I didn't apply to ANDS, I applied to University College. And University College was actually less substitute than ANDS, but I got my place at ANDS, which was the more versatile college. So it was basically one. Oh yeah, okay.
Well, for medicine, applying to your choice of college doesn't really affect your chance, I don't think. I think medicine has like a good like chance because for all medicine students get interviewed at 2 colleges. So I didn't apply to ANDS, and I applied to Brasenose, but I got interviewed at both Brasenose and ANDS. So I feel like it kind of actually increases your chances of maybe getting in because you've got more people that you can like be like, oh, pick me for this college, and like you've got more people to like say why you should be able to go there. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, whichever college you apply to, like, just as Marie Jo was saying, like, if you're kind of good enough to get in, like, you will get in. Like, it really doesn't actually make too much of an impact. And also, like, another thing you can do if you're feeling maybe nervous about which college to apply to, or if you don't get the chance, like, this year, for example, maybe you haven't got the chance to come to Oxford for the open day, and you do want to kind of have a look around the colleges, and that's something you haven't been able to do, you can do what's called open application, which is where you basically just don't say a preference for your college. You just apply to kind of the university, and they'll put you in a college kind of for you, and that's where you have your interview. Or they might put you in 2 colleges for an interview or something like that. But that can be kind of a way to sort of alleviate the stress of, oh, which college should I apply to?
There's some questions in the chat. So if anyone, for people that applied to ANDS, how did you choose St. Anne's? Or like, what did you look for when you were applying to choose like which college to apply to?
I can talk about that if you want. So first of all, it's like what colleges do your course. Like that's quite a big like restriction for me as doing a small course. And then it's like what you want and also what you don't want. Like I feel like what you don't want needs to kind of like told more. Like I was more like, I don't really want to be living in a really old building with dodgy heating, so it was kind of like, right, a more modern college. And then it was like I wanted a kitchen, like an actual kitchen with access to it. And then I also didn't want to be too far from the department just because I'm a bit lazy when it comes to getting up in the morning. So I chose ANDS for that reason.
Yeah, so I pretty much chose ANDS for the same reasons as Rebecca. I wanted to be near the department. That's something to consider. Also, people choose colleges based on their tutors. If there's a particular like part of the course that you're interested in and you know there's like an expert at a college, that might be a reason to want to go there. Kitchen facilities was a big one for me. And also the college size. I didn't really want to go to a tiny college. I wanted quite a big college. And I wanted quite a modern college as well, because the big Oxford scary ones intimidated me. But yeah, like I said, loads of people have different requirements, and I think it's important to think about what you're looking for and how you want your kind of university experience to be, and then pick a college based on that. However, that being said, most people, wherever they end up loving it. So it's not the be-all end-all. It's not like a huge decision. Just kind of have a preference, and if it doesn't end up being that preference, then you'll be fine either way.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I didn't really know what I was looking for when I applied. I think I just picked a random college, but like I feel like the courses are pretty similar at each college. Well, especially for like medicine, where a lot of the teaching is like centralized. So it wasn't really about the course. It was more like, how far am I away from the center? How far am I away from like my building, like my department, and like size and stuff like that. So but also, like as Kate said, it's fine to make an open application, like, and then just get put at a college. It doesn't really matter. I didn't know about ANS before I got there, and now I love it. So it doesn't. I don't think it makes that much of a difference if you're like stressed about where to apply. Like you don't have to worry about it that much.
Does someone else want to take over chairing just because my connection is so dodgy? If I put like a list of questions that people might want to have answered in the chat.
Yeah, sure, can do.
So anyone else can bounce with them if you want to. I'll just put them in now. But if you want to, let's start on interviews or how everyone found their interview process.
Yeah, Kate, do you want to go first about interviews?
Yeah, so I had one interview for French. If you do dual honours, maybe French and history or French and another language, you'll obviously get 2 or maybe 4, because another college might decide that they also want you, and so they'll try and steal you away, and you'll have an interview there too. But I had one interview at St. Anne's, which basically was a kind of half an hour, like really informal chat with the tutor who runs my course at St. Anne's. It's basically, I found it, I was very nervous for it, but when I was in there, I found it really unintimidating. Like, you know, the tutor really wants you to do well. So, and what I found really interesting and what I learned from interviews is that it's not really what you know, because I was stressed about, you know, what I didn't know and how other people would be better, and other people had better French teaching than me, and people had read more books. But what they kind of want to know in the interview is they ask you things about what you don't know, because they want to see how you think. They want to see how you solve a problem. So they'll ask you something that maybe you haven't heard of before, or they'll introduce you to a new idea and ask you what you think about that, rather than asking you about things that you've had loads of time to think about before. It's kind of the way that you go about solving a problem and the way that you go about sort of thinking about a new idea and how you deal with new information. And so, like, obviously it's handy to prepare for interviews by maybe reading some books, doing a bit of background reading, but don't feel scared about the fact that people will always know more, like, as in, that's not necessarily what they want to talk to you about here.
Yeah, definitely. I think someone told me before I did mine, they were like, they ask you what you know, and then like they start testing you from when you don't know stuff, like just to see how you think and etc. Ty, what was your interview process like?
So for engineering, you're sitting in the room with tutors and you're kind of discussing engineering, maths or physics questions. But again, it is a discussion, so it is kind of how you think and how you go about solving these problems and kind of your thought processes and methods. And they will challenge you as well. They'll kind of say, shouldn't it be this, when they know it shouldn't be, just to make sure that kind of you're critically thinking what you're doing. But it was quite relaxed and quite chill and not too far from kind of talking through your problems with the teacher at school.
Yeah, I feel like they don't mind if you say, I don't know. I think I did like lots of times in my interviews, and they were just like, oh, okay, well, we'll give you some more information and this is how we'll do it. Also, like, I think they're quite similar to how tutorials are. Like, you just kind of talking about a problem. I think, like, I felt like mine went quite quickly because I was like, oh, it's already over. And I was like, it's like waiting for it took longer than the actual interview. So it was pretty chill. Marie-Jo, what was your experience of interviews?
Yeah, mine was quite similar to Ty. So it's like you with your tutors, and it's very chemistry heavy questions, because biochem is like the chemistry of living things. So it's like far more chemistry than biology heavy. So it's a bit of chemistry, a bit of maths, and then just a bit of logical reasoning. So it's like, where do you think this would go from here, like logically? I think as well, it's also quite common to think that one interview went really badly and one went really well. So I thought my ANS one was terrible and I thought my other one was great. And then obviously, like, I ended up getting into ANS, so that's a good thing to remember too. Like, it won't seem like it's perfect.
Yeah, so true. Rebecca, have you got anything to tell about interviews?
I feel like mine were the same as Ty's and Marie-Jo's. Like, it's very much like you show up, you kind of given some like maths, physics, chemistry, I think, in materials kind of questions, but they always had like a link to the subject. They didn't really expect you to know anything about material science, which I think was something I was really worried about. I was like, I don't know all of these things, and obviously they don't expect you to, because you learn those things in your first year. That's kind of the point. And yeah, just I think the most important thing is to practice like explaining like why you're doing something, because I think like especially in science we're quite used to just doing our maths question and then saying, right, there's my answer, and actually having someone who's there and wants to know why you've done every single step and why that's important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so true. Like they just want to hear you think about it. Before we talk about like prep and reading for stuff for interviews, someone's just asked, are there many international students at St. Anne's? I think there are. I don't really know how many there are. I know that they have there's an international student rep on the JCR committee that looks after all those people. So there is a little international student committee or community at Anne's. So I think there's a few of them, and across the uni, I'm sure there's different societies for them as well. So leading on from interviews, does anyone have any advice about writing a personal statement or any reading or prep work they should be doing for applications?
I'd say coming up with a plan is something that I was never really told in school, but something that actually was really useful to me. So kind of even just on a piece of paper, writing down, what do I want to convey about myself? What do I want to show that I'm interested in? And then, how do I kind of want to structure it? So whether it just be introduction, paragraph about me, paragraph about what I like, paragraph about extracurriculars, even something as simple as that. And then I'm not telling anyone to do that, by the way, but just kind of as an example. I found that planning really helped. You kind of end up with a skeleton. It's really just filling in the gaps after that. And then and then in terms of drafting, once I had my first draft, for example, I'd then kind of go over it and think about maybe the additional reading that I'd done. So maybe a couple of books that I'd read in French, or maybe this French film that I'd seen. And I'd look at what I'd said in my personal statement and I'd be like, okay, well, this is actually kind of relevant to this film I saw. There's kind of a similar idea here. Whether it be interested in sort of socioeconomics or something. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a theme in this film. I can talk about how I like this film. And then that's kind of just slowly just building it up and just padding out your personal statement. The first time you write it, it doesn't have to be good. Mine was awful. I don't think I would have even got into uni with any uni with my first personal statement draft. So it's really just kind of just going over and just adding bit by bit and taking things away. Don't be scared to take out half a paragraph of you just I did this, and me just being unnecessarily wordy, and it was just really irrelevant in the end. So just be you in your personal statement.
Yeah, nice. Was it hard to write a personal statement for Oxford and for the unis together for anyone? Or Kate, if you're answering.
For me, it was, this is another reason why I chose Oxford over Cambridge, because Cambridge doesn't offer, or didn't at the time offer, just a language by itself. You'd have to do 2 languages. And I knew that, I don't do any other languages. So for me, it was okay, because it was kind of just getting most universities will study some books in French. So it's kind of just getting across oh yeah, I've read a few French books. And it's kind of universal in that sense. But I'm not sure for other people if other courses are really different or anything.
Has anyone got anything to add?
And my courses were not massively different, but I applied to some that were quite a specific material. So I applied to biomaterials courses at a few other universities. So trying to get that in, but it was fine because you can study it at Oxford and you can kind of go that way, but you've also got to bear in mind that I also study metals at Oxford, which I wouldn't study in the same way. And things that make aeroplanes work is very different to things that I would put in someone's body. So making sure I got the balance between I love this subject as a whole, and then somewhere else saying, actually, I really want to do just this part of it. Yeah. But if you plan, like Kate said,
I think for
you can do
biochem,
it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I interrupted you. I think for biochem, it's pretty chill just because it's quite straightforward. It's just making sure you really know your chemistry knowledge. And since Oxford personal statements are designed to be quite academic, as in you're showing more knowledge than telling of your knowledge, then I think it worked really well for other unis anyway, like at least from a science point of view, because that's what they want to see regardless. So I think it was good.
Ty, have you got any personal statement writing advice?
So for engineering, I was okay because Oxford's a general engineering course, and I try to only apply to other general engineering courses. But I know that a lot of people who did apply to Oxford would have applied to mechanical engineering or civil engineering elsewhere. But the good thing is the tutors and the people that read the personal statement understand that Oxford, being just a general course, is unique to only a few unis. So they don't mind that your personal statement might be tailored towards mechanical engineering for your other 4 unis, because they understand that Oxford's quite unique. In terms of advice, I think something that helped between kind of my first draft and kind of going forward is that someone told me to not write my personal statement just showing what I know, but showing why I know it as well. So you might know this amazing thing about some piece of mechanical engineering, but why do you know it? Well, I know it because I'm interested in it, so I read a book about it, or I watched YouTube about it, and then I wanted to find out more. And I think that's something that helped me get past kind of the first hurdle where it stopped sounding like a textbook and started sounding like a personal statement.
Yeah, so true. I feel like for medicine, it was like you want to do like 2/3 like related to medicine, and then like a third maybe, or like a paragraph at the end, just being like, these are my extracurricular activities, but always like relating it back to skills that you would like need in a medicine career, or like any skills that you would need to do it as a degree, or like just relating it all back to why you want to do that course, and like keep going back to that, and obviously having a plan and stuff like that is good. Rebecca, do you want to answer what are the best and worst bits about St. Anne's? Or like everyone can answer afterwards.
The best things is the people, like the community feel in the college. Like you can't walk through college without seeing someone that you want to have a chat to. The kitchens, I love the kitchens. I always rave about the kitchens. And the location, I love the location, even though it's not in the centre of the city. It's away from the tourists, it's away, and it's also like away from like all the busyness, but you also have your own like Jericho, which is near St. Anne's, which is a really nice part of the city where you can kind of see a different part of Oxford. And yeah, I really like that. The worst part, I'm struggling to think of anything right now, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
I mean, maybe people might not like Wolfson and Rain from the outside, but on the inside, they're wonderful. I live there and I love it.
Yeah, they're just, Wilson and Rain are 2 of the accommodation buildings at Anne's, and I think they're just a little bit notorious for being slightly ugly, but we'll just move past that. Everything else in Anne's is really nice. Marie-Jo, what about you? Best and worst bits of Anne's? Did she hear me? I don't know. Ty, do you want to say your best and worst bits?
So my worst bits, I'll start off there, is the location. I mean, it's tough because it's 2 minutes away from my lectures, so that's great, but it's also just far from everywhere else. And kind of the top half of, you find a lot of people that live.
Yeah, no, it's after Rebecca said that. Oh, can you hear me?
She's on?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, everyone else that lives in the centre, when they move out of college, they usually move to the top half of Oxford, which is in Cowley. So when you get to later years, I find myself quite far away from a lot of my friends outside of college, and it ends up being a good 35-minute walk. But you can cycle, so it's fine. The best parts about St. Anne's has to be the people, the vibes, the kitchens are great, and we have a pizza oven in Stacks, which has saved my life this year. So I think that's the best parts for me.
Marie-Jo, do you want to do your best and worst bits of Anne's? Unless you're frozen. I can't tell. Okay, Kate, do you want to take it for now?
Okay. Like obviously, as people have said, the best is the people. Everyone's just so friendly and just so like down to earth as well. And like, despite people kind of having their own individual friendship groups, like there's just kind of a whole community spirit, which is really nice. Like you see a St. Anne's person in town when you're walking past, and you will stop and say hello. And then I'd say the worst part kind of links to that, is in if you need to leave college in a rush, if you're late to something, you've got no chance of getting there on time. In that if you see someone as you're like running out the gates, you've got to stop and say hi, you've got to ask them about their day. You know, there'll be some conversation that needs to be had. So, but that kind of comes from like the friendliness. Like, I just leave for stuff significantly earlier than needs be. So, you know, when you inevitably see a friend or something, you can actually stop and say hi to them rather than just trying to leg it out the gates.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I do like the location, but sometimes when you want to go to town, it's just so far away. And like, if you do it regularly, or like get to Italy, because I don't have a bike at the minute, and it takes so long. But I do kind of like not being in the centre, because it just feels like when you walk out of some of the colleges in the middle, there's just people everywhere. So
yeah,
I guess
also like when you have like a tutorial at another college sometimes, like what I didn't realise until I went to another college to have a tutorial is that they're like full of tourists, like having, you know, guided tours and stuff, which is nice because it's like interesting. But what is nice about Anne's is we don't have any tourists, and that kind of makes it feel sort of more homely, because it feels like you're in sort of private space, you know. You're not sitting in the library and a group of tourists with a tour guide with a little flag walks past you. Like, it's completely sort of your own private space where you won't really get people who aren't, you know, studying at the college or here for a tutorial, which is quite nice.
Yeah, agreed. Someone's asked, can you get housing in fourth year on campus? And as someone going into fourth year, do you want to take that one?
Well, I am going into fourth year and I will have a room on campus, but I am in kind of the strange fourth year situation where I've had a whole year living in a different country. So for me, this does count as my third year accommodation. So if I did a 5-year degree, you know, if it was 2 years, year abroad, 2 years, I wouldn't have it in my fifth year. But as in, you can, if you're on a 4-year course or more years where you live in Oxford the whole time, you can choose which year you'd like to live out. So I know a lot of people that decided to rent privately in their second year, so that in their third and fourth year they got to live back in college, and they had the kind of benefits of, in maybe the busiest years of their degree, having, you know, the dining hall right there to go eat at, having the library a few steps away. So it's like, it's really up to you when you want to live away from college for that year. You get to choose, and college do own actually a number of houses that you can choose to rent, which kind of means that you're not dealing with the landlord. It's just college, so you know exactly what to expect, and that can also count as you living away from college, like that's included.
Sounds good. I'll have a look what other questions there are. What are the library facilities like at Anne's? Anyone want to take that one? Rebecca?
I mean, they're really good. There's 2 24/7 libraries. They kind of cater for anything you might want, like if you want a new modern library or if you want an older, like more traditional Oxford College kind of vibe. There's also like department libraries you can go to. I've never like needed to go out of Anne's though personally for a book, but that's, you know, I do a science, we don't really use that many books, and like the important ones there's plenty of copies. So yeah, I like studying in the group study rooms, would recommend. They're really nice places.
Anything else? Anyone got anything else to add about like libraries, either in Anne's or like the other libraries in Oxford?
I'm
afraid you can. Oh, sorry, Mary Jo. You carry on.
It's fine. I'm just afraid to talk because my connection has been so dismal. Like, I was just gonna say, like, if you like studying in like ambient spaces, like cafes, like for some like essays and stuff, I like background noise. Oxford literally has like hundreds of libraries, so you have like free access to your college one, but you have access to almost all of the other libraries in Oxford, and departments will have their own. So it's a really nice like change of study space if you feel like you want to get your head grounded in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, the fact that apart from the other colleges' libraries, unless you maybe need a book, you might be allowed to go and read it there or borrow it from them. But you can literally go into any library in the whole city. Like, your university card that you get gives you access to all the libraries, which is really nice. And like, as Mary Jo was saying, if you like a bit of background noise, St. Anne's does have its own cafe, which is like a nice bonus. So you can have like subsidized coffee as you do your essay.
Yeah, cool. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add, but hope we answered all your questions about ANDS and what life might be like there if you decide to apply. But I think we're all done now, unless anyone else has anything to like add last minute that I might have forgotten. Well, thank you for watching if you've been here or if you watch it later.